There are so many cheaper selfie stick tripods that you can buy from Amazon, but do they perform as well as the much more expensive Joby TelePod? Is this $80 premium worth it over the cost of other selfie sticks that cost a fraction of the price? Well, let's find out in this video. So one of the main reasons why you might be interested in this selfie stick tripod combo is for self-filming. This is the quintessential reason why I got the Joby TelePod Pro Kit. I was looking for a special kind of tripod slash selfie stick for my Sony ZV-1, which is an excellent point and shoot camera that I reviewed on this channel. Definitely check that out if you're interested. However, given that the Sony ZV-1's field of view is so tight, I needed a grip that could extend far from my face in case I ever wanted to vlog, which is something that I probably never will. I honestly don't vlog at all. Aside from vlogging, there are much more important qualities of a selfie stick tripod that I was looking for. I wanted something lightweight and somewhat pocketable. Bringing a heavy-duty tripod was not practical for my self-filming needs. Adding to that point, I wanted the tripod to be foldable and discreet so that when I'm in public, I could quickly extend the tripod, film something, and then very quickly fold the tripod if I felt it was inappropriate to film or someone was making fun of me vlogging in public. To be honest with you, I do feel quite embarrassed sometimes filming in public. So anyways, the tripod does fall down quite nice, and overall it is pretty light. However, if you do decide to mount an Arca Swiss plate on this, it can get pretty heavy. We'll talk about that later in the video. The next thing I need is a tripod that at least supports 700 grams of weight. As a point and shoot camera, they too can get pretty heavy, especially when you mount a cage and then put on some very critical accessories like a light and a microphone. So apparently on the Joby TelePod, its ball head can support up to 1 kilogram of weight. So we should theoretically be good on most of the situations where we need to mount something pretty heavy on this. But I'll discuss later in this video that this may not be always the case. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted a tripod that could extend pretty far out. This quality was especially crucial for self-filming. Well, the Joby TelePod does extend pretty far out, around 25 inches, and that's pretty good, but I do wish it could extend a bit further, especially in cases where I'm standing in front of the camera. I'm quite tall at 6'3", so if I prop this tripod on a standard height of a table, the camera isn't quite eye level. Now, of course, if this telepod could extend further, it would probably end up being a lot bulkier, heavier, and probably less stable to use. But I still wish I could go out a little bit more. The next very important aspect of a tripod that I needed was something that took a very small footprint. I'm referring to the tripod's feet circumference. I wanted to deploy this tripod in a really tight space, like behind a monitor or on a narrow surface. But I also wanted the tripod's leg to extend wide so that I have that extra comfort knowing that my expensive, delicate camera wasn't going to fall if there was a sudden gust of heavy wind. Well, the special design of Joby's TelePod is what makes this so unique, especially amongst all the competitors. You can see how the legs extend in two modes. First, there's the compact range, so it doesn't really particularly extend very out, but it doesn't take a lot of space. And this is very good if you don't need a lot of stability, but you want the maximum height, or you want to use this telepod in a very small place and occupy as little surface area as possible. In the second mode, or the extended mode, you can extend it so far that you get that extra stability. As you can see in this video, it's standing up quite well to the wind. And then honestly, I was a little bit nervous when I was filming outside and there was a lot of wind, but I did find that it was pretty stable. But at the end of the day, I'm still worried that it might topple, especially that this camera is a little bit heavy and it costs about 800 bucks. So I've been looking day and night to find a cheaper alternative for a tripod that satisfies all these conditions I've listed. And unfortunately, this tripod, the TelePod Pro by Joby, was the only one that could fit the bill. If you know of any tripod selfie stick combo that can perform just as well as this telepod, please let me know in the comments, because at this price point, I still feel like this tripod is a little bit too expensive and I'm a little bit concerned of the build quality and the long-term use. One of the things I immediately noticed when I unboxed this and held this tripod for the first time was how well the grip felt in my hand. I really like the kind of rubbery surface. And if you look at the tripod legs, it has a very thick rubber, so it feels very protected and it feels like a very high quality premium product. And it's way better than holding one of those metal aluminum type of tripods that kind of just dig into your hand and feel really uncomfortable because, you know, they can get very cold in the wintertime and they just don't really groove to your hands very well. The Joby TelePod includes a GoPro attachment accessory. This additional attachment accessory is quite nice to have because I do intend to use this as my GoPro in the future. The Joby TelePod also includes a hand strap. It's very high quality, it's thick, but I find it pretty annoying, so I completely removed it. I didn't really need to use that at all. But I can see this being very handy if you're using this with an action camera and maybe perhaps you're dangling your camera over a big cliff or something like that. One cool little feature that is added onto the tripod legs is that there's these little holes that allow you to put a stake into the ground. I personally would never probably use this because 1, I don't carry stakes with me everywhere I go, and 2, I don't film on grass that often. I'm usually filming on concrete. Another thing that you can do with these legs, since that there's 2 configurations, such as in a fully extended and kind of 45 degrees bent, is that you could technically use this to prop this on uneven surfaces. I'm not sure how practical that is, but it is definitely possible. You could have one leg fully extended out and the other 2 kind of bent in, so that maybe it is more stable on uneven surfaces. Overall, I'm quite impressed with the build quality, especially around the grip, the tripod legs, and everything else. Although it does still feel rather plasticky, and I'll talk about this later in the con section of this video. So for the next part of this video, I want to talk a little bit about the cons of this fancy tripod. So the first complaint I have is really no longer a complaint anymore. I was trying to remove the ball head and I couldn't remove it. Every time I twisted, it was just perpetually moving and I just couldn't get any friction to unscrew it from the quarter screw. But finally, I used some rubber gloves and I was able to unscrew it. So just be very cautious about this. I was complaining a lot about this early in the video, but then later during post-production, I noticed that you can remove it. You just got to use rubber gloves to add some friction. The second complaint I have when using the telepod is that I find it to be very finicky and sometimes very annoying to use at times. Specifically, this frustration occurs when I'm trying to make the camera level using the ball head. It can be very difficult because there's no built-in leveler. Now, of course, you can use the level built into your camera display, but I find that very hard to use at times, especially when you're outside trying to film and it's very hard to see the monitor. I think if Joby added a little bubble leveler, it would make things so much easier. Now, I think the root reason why it's so difficult to get this level is that every time you're using this with the tripod legs, I find them to be very squishy, kind of like when you put a lot of pressure, they kind of move around, so that when you try to level it using the ball joint, let me try here. So let's say you're trying to level it, for example, and then once you level it, you kind of apply pressure on the actual tripod legs, and then when you let go, it kind of just becomes completely unlevel. So to fix this, you have to be very careful. So every time you try to set the level, try to not put any pressure on the legs. That is a true representation of the current level you're at. Now this takes a lot of practice, and then especially if you're outdoors and it's kind of like there's a lot of commotion happening, it can be very stressful to get the proper level. Now, one quick hack is to easily put a very lightweight Arca Swiss plate, and I got this fishbone style Arca Swiss plate over, as you can see here, and this is very good because it doesn't add too much weight, but it is going to add extra weight, and this is going to be concerning, especially if you extend this out fully, and it might topple and stuff like that. So just be very wary of what you're adding, what kind of plate you're adding to this at the top. And another annoyance is like it's sometimes very difficult to keep this very low. In fact, the lowest you can go is kind of like right here. That's the lowest you can go because you have this thing at the bottom over here, as you can see. You have to be really strategic on how you use this. So you have to twist it at the bottom over here. And yeah, and then there you can mount it, because if it's all the way in, it's gonna fall apart. It's not gonna stand properly, so you gotta twist it from the bottom. So in the end, just be wary, you can't go that low with this, and it can be a little finicky to use. Another con I want to mention is that this ball head can be really finicky. I don't really trust the supported rating of 1 kilogram. I think that's a little bit too heavy. I noticed that when I mount heavy things, it tends to like move around and get really soft. You have to really tighten it. I'm not trusting of this particular ball head. Another con is that this overall, the extension arms feel a little cheap and plasticky, and I'm kind of concerned about the long-term use of this. If you're going to put 1 kilogram on this and extend it fully out and then have it on this extension like here, I don't know. I'm just a little bit weary of using it with so much weight on top of there. If any wind blows, it's going to definitely fall down and crash your camera. So be very careful of how you use this. I think the 1 kilogram is a little bit maybe more in line if you have it a lot lower and you have it flattened out on the fully extended tripod mode. So maybe this could support it. But even then, the ball joint is still kind of finicky, doesn't really support a lot of weight. Another concern I have about the long-term use of this tripod is the actual legs. And every time you're bending it into the different position, I'm a little bit scared that it's going to lose its tensile strength and become loose. So I'm really hoping that it retains its rigidity over a long-term use. And I'll definitely keep you posted in this video, and I'll put a comment down below if anything bad happens. But I'm a little bit concerned about the long-term use because everything is very plasticky. So in conclusion, I have to admit that the Joby TelePod Pro Kit is quite an engineering feat, but you are paying a very steep premium price for all these exclusive features. I can't find any other similar type of product on the market that compares in terms of its size, weight, and flexibility. Unfortunately, The TelePod is not without its flaws, and I'm concerned about the long-term use of this product, but I hope I'm wrong about everything else and that this lasts quite a long time. So that's it for this video. I would love to know your thoughts about this particular TelePod. Can you find anything that is cheaper, maybe perhaps even better? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be very curious to know. Thanks for watching until the end. If this video helped you make an informed decision on purchasing your next selfie tripod combo, please do give a like, it really helps out the channel. And definitely hit the subscribe button if you want to hear about more budget-friendly camera gear reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.